So now it is my pleasure. We whiz over to another continent, and we're now going to Beirut. And it's my absolute pleasure to welcome another amazing woman who I met about 6 years ago, Dr. Rhea Jabbour. Dr. Jabbour is a Lebanese-Canadian certified mediator and attorney at law. She was admitted to practice in Lebanon and the state of New York. Rhea has over 10 years experience as a legal advisor. She is passionate about public policy, human rights, and alternative dispute resolution. She is currently a legal consultant for the World Bank in Beirut to enhance women's economic empowerment in the Mashrek region. She's the general counsel for the Saradar Group and a professor in mediation at St. Joseph University. So Rhea, thank you so much for joining us today. It's an absolute joy to have you, and the floor is now yours.
Thank you so much, Katie. It's really an honor to be here. Happy Women's Day to everyone watching us. I'm really thrilled to be here. It's been such inspiring stories to hear. I've been actually taking notes about all the tips you have shared with us, breaking boxes and building tables. We learn in the valleys. What we give, we receive, and so many other very valuable tips. So thank you for that. Really, you are all change makers, and it's really a privilege to get to know you. So the challenge that I decided to share with you today is a challenge that is professional, collective, and also personal. So as Katie said, I'm a lawyer. I'm a corporate lawyer and a human rights lawyer. It's a weird combination, I know. I've always been passionate about equal opportunity, inclusion, equality, and diversity. So 6 years ago, I participated in a fellowship program in London, and this is where I had the pleasure to meet the wonderful Katie. And at the time, they asked us to work on a project to improve our country. And obviously, I chose to work on equality in the workplace. And in that context, I personally drafted provisions for equal treatment in the workplace, diversity with a focus on women and on sexual harassment. I put my heart and soul into these provisions. I was so excited about that, and I really wanted to make a contribution to my country. And I started knocking on doors at the time, ministers, members of the parliament, but nobody was interested. A, because gender was not a priority, and B, because nobody knew who I was. I wasn't affiliated to anyone, so they ignored me. Obviously, I was very disappointed, but I didn't give up. 6 years later, I find myself working as legal consultant for the World Bank, working on women economic empowerment in the Mashrek region in the context of a program called the Mashrek Gender Facility, which aims at closing the gender gap, increasing female participation by 5%, boosting legal reforms against all sorts of discrimination. And in that context, obviously, we went back to sexual harassment. So 6 years later, I was finally working on something I was so passionate about. It was challenging, of course, for so many reasons. Some of those reasons are, one, because sexual harassment was always viewed either as a taboo subject or as a joke. Gender was not a priority in Lebanon, especially given the alarming economic crisis we are going through at the moment. And the mentality in Lebanon is still, unfortunately, very patriarchal, even though I'm very happy to say that women have been speaking up more, they're more assertive, especially since the October 2019 revolution, where women have proven themselves to be real activists and they are not afraid to speak up anymore. It was also challenging because, we have different points of views. You are dealing with different people coming from different backgrounds, all brilliant people, of course, on the legislative table, but it's always hard, to agree on everything, especially when it's a new concept. Despite all those challenges, a year later, we managed to agree on a draft law. And for the first time in the history of Lebanon, we now have a law against sexual harassment in private spaces, public spaces, including the workplace. Of course, it's not enough. It's not perfect. We still have a very long way to go. But as you said, Katie, in the beginning of this talk, it's very important to stop, acknowledge what we've done so far, be kind to ourselves, and then move on and take someone along the way, right? So this is really a milestone for women's rights, and I was so happy to be a part of it, and I'm happy to celebrate this success with all of you. 3 tips that I would like to share with you. Again, I really enjoyed listening to all the tips you shared with us. I could not agree more with all of you. I hope I won't be redundant. The first one is to always, always, always listen to the little voice inside your heart. And actually, I wrote and self-published a children's book against bullying, which is called The Little Voice Inside. I think that this little voice inside that sometimes, unfortunately, we forget to hear because of all the noise in our lives, right? We're busy, we don't have time, or we don't have the space to hear it. And you mentioned, Katie, the small whispers, right? The small whispers. So this little voice, in my opinion, you want to call it the voice of truth. You want to call it the voice of God. You want to call it the voice of your inner self. No matter what you want to call it, this is the voice that will tell you exactly who you are meant to be, what it is that you are meant to do in this life, and this is the guiding force in your life. This is the voice that will keep pushing you forward to achieve whatever goal, whatever mission, or to overcome whatever challenge you are facing. You also can call it divine calling, as Dr. Anita said earlier. The second tip I would like to share with you, it's a bit linked to the first one, is that I'm a strong believer that life works for you, not against you. The universe works for you, not against you. So whatever it is that you want, have the courage to ask for it. Place an intention, articulate it, place it, ask for it, and then let it go. And trust the process. Trust the universe. It's not easy. It's a daily practice, right? Because we are doers. We want to make things happen. We want to control everything, of course. And I'm a strong believer that you live your life in partnership with God or the universe or life, whatever you want to call it. Of course, you have a huge role to play, but sometimes you have to trust, just let go and trust. And to be honest with you, there are things that I wrote in my diary maybe 10 or 12 years ago, intentions that I placed and that I wrote down. And now, fast forward 10, 12 years ago, I'm actually doing them. And sometimes I forgot about them, but the universe didn't. I attracted them. So this is my my tip number 2. So believe in the universe, whatever it is that you want, it will manifest. Tip number 3, and we've mentioned that already, it's that we as women, we are good communicators, we are good problem solvers, we are peacemakers. We have qualities such as kindness, empathy, compassion, tenderness, sensitivity that we shouldn't lose. You can be kind and strong. You can be compassionate, empathetic, and yet you can be firm and assertive without being aggressive, without, trying to impose yourself too much. I don't like these images of you. If you want to be a good lawyer, you have to be a shark. You have to talk during the whole meeting. You have to interrupt everyone. No, not at all. You can find the right balance. If you really believe in yourself, in what you're saying, if you are convinced of what you're doing, and as we said before, if it's aligned with your values, there is no need to go against your nature. So nurture these qualities, right? Nurture your compassion, your kindness, your empathy. And these are our strong points as women. And I will conclude by saying that don't just aspire to make a living, aspire to make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. I love that. Inspire to make a difference. Don't inspire to make a living. That's absolutely fantastic.